So very good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to our MINDFULGym Lesson 7. So in today's class, our focus is on befriending challenges. Now in my place is raining, and the internet connection might be disrupted. And to me, this is very timely because just nice for this talk. Because this talk is on befriending challenges, we need to learn to make friends, be comfortable with uncertainties. It's still raining here. Anytime if the internet connection is disrupted, we have to stop. That's very timely, isn't it? Special effect for this talk. Let's recap on the definition of mindfulness. So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness means remembering to pay attention to the present moment with an attitude of kindness, a beginner's mind, and wisdom. So today's lesson, we're going to focus more on wisdom. Of course, we have the entire definitions of mindfulness: present moment attention, kindness, beginner's mind, wisdom. But today's highlight, the focus, the emphasis is on wisdom. Okay. So under MINDFULGym Wisdom, today we have two tools to share with you. In every class, we have one or two MINDFULGym tools to share with you. So for today, there are two tools. The first tool is called AAM, and the second tool is called the 5 Mindful Vitamin. So AAM stands for Accept, Adjust, and Move On. And the 5 Mindful Vitamins are actually coping statements that help us to think wisely. So these will be the two tools that we'll learn today under the category of wisdom to help us to befriend stress, challenges, and changes in life. Okay, how can we think wisely? Our focus today is on wisdom. How can we think wisely? And one of the ways actually is by reminding ourselves that our life is like playing Tetris. Life is like playing Tetris. There are a lot of changes and challenges in life. In the MINDFULGym Part 1, remember we have a session on introduction to stress. And we mentioned that stress is part and parcel of life. Our MINDFULGym program is not designed to help you to get rid of stress. It's designed to help us to cope with stress. So we are visiting the topic of stress. Stress equals challenges and changes in life. Okay, and in a way that is inevitable. Here and now, I'm experiencing changes and challenges. As I told you, it's raining here. It might get heavier, and the internet connection can be disrupted anytime. So we are facing changes and challenges that is inevitable. That is inevitable, cannot be avoided as part and parcel of life. However, if we have the wisdom, to remind us this is normal. For example, now I'm running a MINDFULGym program. We're using the Zoom system. It's normal to have rain. I cannot complain about the rain. You know, that's the nature of life. We can have rain. That's not within our control. So if we have the wisdom to remind us that life is uncertain, there are a lot of changes and challenges. If we remind ourselves in that way, then we don't expect too much from life. We learn how to flow with life. So I'm learning how to flow with life, flowing with changes and challenges here and now. Still raining here. I do not know when I have to stop it. Anytime, you know. So we learn to flow with uncertainty. So we have the wisdom to be mentally prepared that stress can happen anytime, changes can happen anytime, challenges can happen anytime. And that in a way, we reduce our stress. Where we don't expect too much from life, we don't expect things which are impossible, then we reduce our stress. So the stress won't become too much, stress won't become excessive, stress won't become suffering. The same goes for the pandemic as well. All of us are facing the pandemic. There are a lot of stress, changes, and challenges associated with the pandemic. That is also normal. This is not the first pandemic, and this is not going to be the last pandemic. So it's very important to remember ourselves that stress is part and parcel of life. It's inevitable part of life. Under wisdom, we also like to remind ourselves that stress is not the same as suffering. It's very important. Let me repeat. Stress is not the same as suffering. Okay? Suffering equals stress times resistance. This is a very, very important concept. I give you some time to let this message sink into your mind. Stress is not the same as suffering. Suffering equals stress times resistance. Remember, I mentioned earlier in the earlier slide, stress, changes and challenges is part and parcel of life. Life is like playing Tetris all the time. All of us have stress, all of us have tension. That's normal. However, if we resist stress, there's resistance. Resist stress means we are not aware of stress. We do not know how to relate to our stress. Then we have suffering. If we know how to relate to our stress, if we don't resist our stress, then stress will remain as just stress. I hope this is clear. Okay, if you're not clear, let me further explain to you in the next slide. Stress is inevitable. Okay, changes and challenges in life are inevitable. They are inevitable. They are part and parcel of life. But suffering is optional. Suffering is not a must. Stress is inevitable. Stress is everywhere. Stress is here and now. If you know how to deal with stress, knowing to deal with stress means to relate to our stress, relate to our challenges, with kindness, with beginner's mind, with wisdom. Then we don't suffer so much. Okay, got it? Stress is when we resist stress, then it becomes suffering. If we don't resist stress, if we learn how to relate to stress with kindness, beginner's mind, wisdom, then there is no suffering. Okay, so how do we relate to stress? Okay, as I mentioned, it's related to stress with kindness, beginner's mind, wisdom. More specifically, as I said, today we have 2 tools to share with you. So the first tool is called AAM. AAM, okay. AM stands for accept, adjust, and move on. It's an acronym. A stands for accept, A stands for second A stands for adjust, and the M stands for move on. AM is a bit outdated these days. Actually, AM is the original AAM stands for the Automobile Association of Malaysia. It's a car breakdown service provider. I think these days is no longer so popular. But at one time, AM was very popular car breakdown service provider. Yeah. So in dealing with stress in life, this is how I remind myself. When my car breaks down, I will call AM. AM is the car breakdown service provider. When we are stressed, when our car breaks down, we call AM. Okay. When our mind breaks down, that means when we are stressed out, and when our mind breaks down, we also call AM, but this AM is the MINDFULGym AM, not the car service provider, not the car breakdown service provider. The AM here says accept, adjust, and move on. Okay, what does that mean? Okay. Accept basically is to acknowledge that we have a problem. Whatever problem. A is to acknowledge. Another one is to pay attention. Pay attention to our problem. Is to acknowledge a problem. The problem can be any problem. It could be a problem of anger, can be a problem of depression, can be a problem of family problem, work problem, health problem, can be whatever problem. But most importantly, in befriending challenges in life, we got to start with acceptance. Acceptance means accept that we have a problem. Okay, so that's the first A. Pay attention, accept that we have a problem. Okay. The second A stands for adjust. Adjust basically means to apply all the MINDFULGym tools that we have learned earlier, like mindful breathing, body stretching, butterfly heart, EFT tapping, unhooking thoughts. Applying those skills, applying those tools to help us to calm our mind. That is under adjust. Okay? In a way, it's related to kindness. Okay, so we be kind to ourselves by applying all the mindful gym tools we have learned to suit ourselves, to relax and to calm down. I hope so far so good. Attention is to acknowledge that we have a problem. Okay, kindness is to suit ourselves, be gentle with ourselves, to help us to adjust to the stress, changes, and challenges. Okay, and of course, M stands for move on. After we have calmed down, after we have relaxed our body, calm the mind, we have to move on to solve the problem. So that is the basic concept of AM, accepting, adjusting, and moving on when we face with changes and challenges in life. Okay, let me relate to you a real life incident, a kisah benar, a real life incident that happened to me, and I would like to use this example to share with you how I apply the AAM tool to help me cope with stress. Yeah. So this incident happened on one Saturday afternoon. Usually I spend my Saturday morning for my badminton game. Okay, so I play badminton usually on every Saturday from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. After the 12 o'clock, usually I drive home. And those days I used to conduct the MINDFULGym program in the afternoon. So badminton game is from 10 o'clock to 12 noon. Then I take my lunch, I rest, and then I conduct the MINDFULGym program at 3 o'clock. But on this particular day, something unusual happened because when I was in the car park of the badminton area, I found out that I couldn't start my car engine. So my car broke down. Okay, my car broke down. Yeah, so that is considered something stressful. Something was not under my control. Something I didn't expect. Okay, so I'm going to use this example to show you how I apply the AAM. Yeah, of course, initially, I was very stressed out. It's not within my control. It didn't happen according to my plan. So my thought at the time was thinking, oh shit, why do this happen? Why this happen at this time? Why now? I got a MINDFULGym program to conduct afterwards, at 3 o'clock. Why now? Why now and why me? Yeah, so initially I have problem in accepting, or still in the distress stage. Okay. Okay, but luckily the AM Kung Fu is good enough. So I told myself to accept. So I talked to myself, self-talk. Hey, after all, I'm the one teaching about AM. I should learn to apply AM myself. So I told myself to accept. Okay. As usual, of course, the experience was not pleasant. I asked myself what to do. Okay. I asked myself what to do. I remind myself whatever we resist, we perceive, So I got to accept lah. The car broke down and my engine cannot start. That is the fact. Got to accept. Yeah. So that's how I reminded myself. Okay. Then that is under paying attention. So I pay attention and accept the fact that my car cannot start. The car broke down. I cannot start. Then I practice kindfulness under adjust. Okay. So while still in the car, I do my mindful deep breathing. I do a little bit of stretching, breathing to relax my body, to calm my mind. So that is under the second A, adjust. Doing mindful breathing to calm down. Yeah. Okay. So that is under adjust. Be kind to the mind and kind to the body by applying all the MINDFULGym tools. Okay. Then under N, of course, to move on. After I calm down a bit, then I ask myself, what can I do now? What are the options I have? Okay, when my mind is calm already, then I think, I have a few options. Of course, I can call the Alliance Car Assist Service. That's one option I have. Okay, or I call Grab, come and pick me up, or I can call a friend to come and fetch me. Yeah, call a friend and fetch me. So when my mind is calm, then I can think wisely and decide what to do. Of course, in that particular time, I decided to call my friend to come and fetch me because I got to run MINDFULGym at 3 o'clock. Right? Yeah. So that is focusing on what I can do. That is moving on. So that's a very good example, an incident whereby my car broke down is a stressful situation. That's how I applied AM. Accept, adjust, and move on to cope with the stress. Okay, it's important to practice the AAM with all the mindful gym tools that we have learned earlier. By now, I hope you are able to see that all the mindful gym tools we share with you, they are all interrelated. They are not separate tools. They are all interrelated. Yeah. So all the mindful gym tools that we learned earlier, you can sort of park them under the second A, adjust. The A, accept is more just acknowledging there's a problem. Car broke down, relationship problem, family problem, health problem, whatever problem. The first A is accepting, acknowledge there's a problem. The second A, adjust, is all the tools we have learned earlier. Mindful breathing, mindful body stretching, unhooking thoughts, kindful healing hand, EFT tapping, butterfly hug, and so on and so forth. All these we can apply under adjust, mainly to relax the body and to calm the mind. Then only it's easier for us to move on. So moving on is also an art. It's not so easy to just move on. We need to do it step by step. Step one is to accept, acknowledge there's a problem. Step two, adjust, practice all these skills to calm the mind, relax the body. Then the third part, M, only we move on. So there's a wise way to move on. Okay, let us troubleshoot acceptance. Usually when I'm giving a talk or running workshop on acceptance, usually I find that there are many wrong views, many misconceptions related to acceptance. So I will help you to, over here, I will help you to troubleshoot some of the common misconceptions related to acceptance. If you have further questions, feel free to ask during the Q&A session. Okay. So one of the commonly asked questions related to acceptance is, why do we need to accept? Okay, why do we need to accept? Seems to be quite a simple questions, but sometimes it can be a little bit more complicated. Okay, I'll start with a very simple one first. Okay, the obvious reason why we need to accept is because it is the part one of solving problem. Is the first step to solving problem. If you don't accept, how are we going to face a problem? How are we going to solve the problem? Right? Any problems we have in life, whether it's anxiety, depression, panic attack, health problems, family issues, relationship issues, job problem, financial difficulties, solving those problems always starts with acceptance. We get to acknowledge that there is a problem. Okay, that is an obvious reason why we need to accept. Without accepting, it's difficult to move on. Right? In the process of accepting, in the process of acknowledging our problem, there are a few quotes that I often use to remind myself on acceptance. So there are three quotes. They are my favorite quotes that I would like to share with you, which are all related to acceptance. The first quote comes from Dr. Carl Jung. Dr. Carl Jung says that whatever we resist in life will persist. Whatever resist, we will persist. There's another way of emphasizing the importance of acceptance. We got to accept, we got to acknowledge there's a problem. If you don't think it's a problem, then that is the biggest problem. Very often in my clinic, I share with my patients and the family members, I say, people who think they have a problem, that's actually not a big problem. The bigger problem is when people do not think that they have a problem. That is a much more complicated problem. That is a bigger problem. So remember this from Dr. Carl Jung, whatever we resist will persist. So instead of resisting, we learn to accept, we learn to acknowledge there's a problem. Just acknowledge. Acknowledging a problem doesn't mean that the problem is solved. It's only part one, the step one of problem solving. Okay? The second quote that I like related to acceptance that comes from Dr. Kristen Neff. Okay, Dr. Kristen Neff says that we can't heal what we don't feel. We can't heal what we don't feel. It's very true. Very often, in order to resolve certain unpleasant feeling like anger or depression or jealousy or resentment, we got to start with feeling it. We got to feel it. We got to acknowledge it. Then only we can start the healing process. Very often we hear of people with anger issues. People with a lot of anger issues. They may say, "I'm not angry." We're trying to point out to them, maybe you have an anger issue. They say, no, I don't have any anger issue. And we bang the table and say that I don't have anger issues. So that is a problem. So anything starts with acceptance. So there's another way of highlighting the importance of acceptance by these wonderful quotes by Dr. Kristen Neck. We can't heal when we don't feel. We got to feel it. We got to acknowledge it. Then only we can start the healing process. Okay. Another quote. This one comes from Dr. Dan Siegel. Okay. Dr. Dan Siegel says that we need to name it to tame it. Name it to tame it. So we have to learn to name the problem, acknowledge the problem, feel the problem. Then only we can tame it. Tame it means to solve it or to heal it. Yeah. Okay. All three quotes, all three sayings convey the same message. And the message is related to acceptance, the importance of acknowledging the problem, the importance of naming the problem, feeling the problem. Okay, next one. Okay. Misconceptions of acceptance. This is very, very, very important. Okay. There are three common misconceptions related to acceptance. The first one is acceptance means I have to like it or it's going to be pleasant. A lot of people think that, oh, if I accept, then I'm going to be happy. Accept means I'm going to be happy. Accept then it's going to live happily ever after. That's not true. Acceptance doesn't mean that it's always pleasant. So in that example that I gave earlier, after my badminton game, my car broke down, engine cannot start. Was it a pleasant experience? No, it wasn't a pleasant experience. It wasn't a pleasant experience. Okay. However, with acceptance, when I acknowledge the problem, it helps me to resolve the problem. Okay. So acceptance helps with problem solving. Not necessarily it has to be pleasant. Not necessarily it has to be pleasant. Okay. The second misconception is acceptance means I surrender and don't do anything about it. This is another common misconception. Acceptance doesn't mean I don't do anything. Acceptance means I acknowledge a problem, then work towards solving the problem. Back to that example when a car broke down. After I accepted, after I do my full breathing to calm down, I have to think, what can I do now? Should I call the Alliance car service, car breakdown service? Should I call Grab or should I call my friend? That's the problem solving part. Okay? Acceptance doesn't mean I surrender, I don't do anything. Acceptance is acknowledging the problem and then think of what we can do about it. Okay? Third misconception related to acceptance. Acceptance is a Maggie instant process. This is not true. Acceptance takes time. Okay? Of course, when I share, when I talk, when I give example, sometimes it may give the wrong impression that acceptance takes place immediately. Of course, when we talk about it, when we relate a story, it may sound that the acceptance was instant process. But very often in real life, acceptance is a gradual process. It will take some time before we can fully accept. Therefore, since acceptance is a gradual process, it's helpful to imagine that acceptance has three stages. Under acceptance, it has three stages. The first stage of acceptance is acknowledging. The second stage is allowing, and the third stage is accommodating. Okay, so under acceptance, there are three stages: acknowledging, allowing, and accommodating. So there's a gradual process of acceptance, stage by stage. Okay, you can imagine acknowledging. It is like recognizing someone you dislike at the door. It's like somebody knocked the door. Acknowledging is acknowledging that is somebody knocking the door. but you do not know who the person. You do not know. You're not sure who is there. At least recognize someone is there. Someone is there at the door. Allowing is like opening the door, right? Opening the door for the person who dislike to come in. Okay. Of course, in this example, the person the person might not be a person. The person will represent our stress, our changes and challenges in life. So in my example just now, in the car accident, the car incident, that is like accepting that I have this car breakdown problem, allowing that problem, allowing me to slowly accept that I have this problem. That is allowing. Okay. Accommodating is like learning to live with the person we dislike. Accommodating is learn to live with it. I find this analogy quite useful to remind us that acceptance is a gradual process. It's not a Maggie Bean thing. It's not an instant process. It's a gradual process, consists of 3 phases: acknowledging, allowing, and accommodating. It's important to practice AAM, accept and just move on with kindness and wisdom. It's very, very important to apply AM with kindness and wisdom. Okay. Acceptance doesn't mean that we don't fail in life. Acceptance doesn't mean that we don't fall. It doesn't mean that we don't fall. It doesn't mean that we don't fail. It doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes in life. I think it's very, very important. When I first started to learn about mindfulness and acceptance, I used to think acceptance means if I accept already, means everything will be nice, everything will be good, I won't make any mistake, I won't fail. Of course, later I learned that is not true. Okay? Acceptance doesn't mean that we don't make mistake. Acceptance doesn't mean that we don't fail. But acceptance does mean, acceptance at AM does mean that when we fall or we fail, we learn to bounce back. When we fail, we learn to bounce back and bounce forward. Bounce back and bounce forward. Bounce forward means we learn something from the experience. Okay, let me give you a specific example. As you probably know, I'm a psychiatrist. So I help patients who are dealing with depression. So how do we apply this AAN concept in coping with depression? Okay. So in coping with depression, it is common to have relapse. Okay, it's common to have relapse. Okay, so when we practice AAM, doesn't mean we don't have depression relapse. For someone applying AAM in dealing with depression, it doesn't mean that the person doesn't have depression relapse. Okay, AAM does mean that we can fall, we can have a relapse, either a big relapse or small relapse. Okay, but most importantly, we learn how to bounce back. We apply all the MINDFULGym tools, we learn to bounce back. Okay? It is not about not having relapse, it's about bouncing back. Okay? After we have fallen, we bounce back and then we bounce forward. Bounce forward means in every depression relapse, we learn something about it. We learn about the causes and conditions that contribute to the relapse. So we learn so that in the future, we know what to do to prevent a relapse. So that is very, very important. So AM acceptance doesn't mean that everything is going to be fine, everything is going to be perfect, and there won't be any mistake. It doesn't mean that. Okay. This slide focus more on the M. Okay, I've talked a lot about the first 2 A's, accept and adjust. This slide I will emphasize more on moving on, the M, move on. Okay. Related to moving on, it's important for us to be mindful of our purpose and goals in life. Be mindful of our purpose and goals in life. If not, it's very difficult to move on. It's easy to say, move on. But if you don't have meaningful goals, meaningful purpose, it's very difficult to move on. For example, back to that example again. So the incident of my car broke down, I couldn't start the engine. You see, on that day, the incident didn't affect me much. Of course, I was stressed out. It didn't go according to plan, but I did not suffer. There was stress, but I did not suffer. Okay. The reason is when I look back, I think I have a very meaningful goal and purpose, because on that same day, 3 o'clock of the same day, I was supposed, and I did. Okay, I was supposed to conduct the MINDFULGym program. So conducting the MINDFULGym program, running the MINDFULGym course is my goal and purpose. So that helped me to move on very fast. All I need to do is to acknowledge, the car broke down. 2, do mindful breathing, calm down. 3, move on, call someone to fetch me home. Okay, then I move on with running the MINDFULGym program in the afternoon. Okay, so this is a very good example. If we have meaningful goals and purpose in life, it's much easier to move on. But if we don't have meaningful goals and purpose in life, it's very difficult to move on. Very difficult. In fact, after all the MINDFULGym tools, let's say after you do mindful breathing, after you do mindful body stretching, after you've done all those things, okay, you feel better. So feel better already, then what? What are you going to do next? Okay? So that's why it's very important to know our purpose, know our goals in life. Okay. Some of you at this juncture, you may be asking, some of you have clear goals and purpose in life. Some of you might not have. In fact, a lot of people don't have their goals and purpose in life. And one of the frequently asked questions I receive is they will ask, if I don't have any purpose, any goals, how do I find my goals and purpose? That's a very relevant question. How do I find my purpose, my meaning, my goals in life? That is a very, very good question. Because if you're not clear, how are you going to accept, adjust, and move on? Difficult, isn't it? Okay. So over here, I will share with you, I'll give you a few suggestions. I'll give you a few suggestions to help you to find your purpose in life. Okay. The first suggestion is try to recollect your childhood dreams. Try to visit your childhood and see whether you had any dreams that you had when you were a child. And maybe those dreams will give you a clue on what you want to do in life. Okay? Maybe when you're a child, you like to play, maybe you like to play guitar, or maybe you like to play piano, but maybe because you were so busy and then you didn't have the time to do all those things, then maybe you can revisit your childhood. Maybe you can do something related to music. Something related to music can be in the form of hobby or can even make it into a career. Okay, so the first way is to recollect our childhood dream, and from there see whether we can find some purpose in life. The second one is to look for role models. I'm sure all of us have role models. Try to recollect the various people we have met in life. Who are the people that we find inspiring? Those that we respect them, we honor them. Try to recall these people in your life. Could be a school teacher, could be your family member, could be a relative, could be a friend, someone whom you look highly upon. Okay, and that also might give you a clue on your purpose. Maybe you want to be doing something like this person is doing. Okay, so that is a recollect on the role models you have in life. Okay, another method, the third method is I call it the death contemplation. Death contemplation means imagine you're going to die in 3 months' time. Imagine something going to happen. Imagine you're going to die in 3 months' time, and you're left with 3 months' time. Okay, if you're only left with 3 months' time, how would you like to live your life? How would you like to live your life? So you got to prioritize. You're going to die in 3 months' time. Okay, this is also another way to help us to find the meaning, purpose in life, to help us to prioritize, to reflect on what matters to us in life, what is important to life. So you got 3 methods. Another method is imagine you don't have problems. Okay, of course now you might have problems. There are a lot of things you want to do in life, but now you may have problems. You may have health problems, you may get emotional problem. But imagine, let's say imagine. So imagine you don't have all the obstacles. Imagine you have good physical health. Imagine you have good mental health. Imagine money is not a problem. Imagine there are no problem, no obstacle, no challenges. What would you like to do? What would you like to do? So this is another very powerful way of thinking. Okay, and then you might say that, if I have time, if I don't have this health problem, then I want to do, maybe I want to do voluntary work. Maybe you say I want to do voluntary work to help people. I want to learn counseling skills. Maybe I want to learn counseling skills. I want to be a good listener. But I can't do it now. I can't do it now because maybe there are some restriction, because of some physical health reason, could be mental health reason, could be financial issues. But if you don't have all these issues, then you think, maybe I want to be a counselor. That also gives us a clue. Okay. If all those methods I mentioned, they don't work, you got another method. Okay, then I would suggest that sometimes thinking too much might not be helpful. So the last method for us to help us to find purpose and goal, I call it just do it. Don't think so much. Just do it. Go and join some activities. Go and spend time with your friend. Do some voluntary work and just do something. It might not be meaningful. It might not be purposeful. Just do it. Just do it. Because very often is in process of doing, we discover our purpose in life. So sometimes think too much doesn't work. We need to just do it, and in the process of doing, we'll discover our meaning and purpose. Okay, yeah. So that's how we can apply AM, accept, adjust, and move on. Okay, I will stop here for Q&A. Also for you to clarify anything related to AM, accept, adjust, and move on. Yes, I can hear.
Okay, our life is strongly affected by COVID. My shop can't open and I can't travel. Sometimes I will worry this situation will last forever. How do I adjust it?
Very good. Good question, Amy. Thanks for the question. Yeah. So you have already applied the first A. The first A is accept, basically to acknowledge that we are all facing the COVID problem. Okay. And of course, you're also acknowledging that because of the COVID, you can't open your shop. Okay. You can't open your shop, and you also cannot travel. So you have clearly acknowledged a problem. COVID problem, cannot open shop problem, cannot travel problem. So you already accepted and acknowledged. Is very good. Okay, so your question is more of adjustment. Okay, adjustment, of course, it goes back to all the mindful gym exercises. So you can choose. Can be mindful body stretching, can be mindful breathing, can be EFT tapping, can be butterfly hug, can be unhooking thoughts. So you can apply any of those exercises you will learn under adjust. Basically, adjustment is to learn to help us to calm our mind and also to relax the body. So that answers the worry. How to overcome the worry is to practice all those exercises. Okay. And after adjusting only helps to calm the mind and relax the body. After adjusting, then we can ask ourselves how to move on. And this context is what can you do? What can you do? Certain thing is not within our control. I mean, the COVID is still there. You cannot open your shop. You cannot travel. Those are reality. We cannot change anything. Okay. But under move on, you can focus on what you can do. Focus on what you can do. For example, you can attend the mindful gym program. Okay? If you open shop and you can travel around, you may be so busy, you won't have the time to attend the mindful gym program for 8 weeks, So at least you're able to attend the mindful gym program. Because you cannot open your shop, you cannot open the physical shop. Maybe you can learn how to open your shop online, which a lot of people are doing these days, So you learn a different way to open your shop. Okay? For me, the same as well. Because of the COVID, I cannot run I cannot conduct the face-to-face in-person MindFulGym program. Okay, that one I cannot. Okay, but what can I do? What I do is I can learn how to run the MindFulGym program on Zoom. It's not as good as the in-person training program, but it's better than none. So that's how we can apply AAM in the COVID situation. In your case, it affects your shop. In my case, it also affects my shop. My shop is MindFulGym shop. Same thing. Okay, Amy? Got it, Amy? Good.
The next question is there a way to accept even if we are unsure of what the exact problem is? Is it a must to be able to feel it, name it, the 3 codes in order to accept?
Not necessary. Good question. Good question. Not necessary. Of course, when I teach, because when we teach, we have to teach systematically. So I say AAM. Step 1 is accept. Step 2 is adjust. Step 3 is move on. But in real life, it doesn't happen. It doesn't necessarily happen in that sequence. Not necessary. Not necessary. The sequence could be the acceptance. The acceptance could be just acknowledging there is something unpleasant. The acceptance could be just at the level of acknowledging there is something unpleasant. But I'm not sure exactly what's the problem. But I know there's something there. There's some problem, some feeling, some emotion. I cannot pinpoint it exactly. I cannot name it exactly. But I know something is there. That's fine as well. There's also a level of acknowledging. Remember, I mentioned acceptance got 3 levels. So first, I said acknowledge. Acknowledge is something there. So not very clear, not exactly sure what is it, but it's good enough to acknowledge. Then we do all the MindFulGym exercises, the EFT tapping, butterfly heart breathing. Sometimes when our mind is calm, our body is relaxed. Then we have a better clarity on what's the actual problem. So we can start with a little bit of acknowledging of the unpleasantness. We're not sure what is it. Then we proceed with adjustment. Mind, body, relax. Then we have a better clarity of what is bothering us. Okay. Of course, not necessarily it must be complete the A's. Then you go to move on. Sometimes we got to just move on. But in the process of moving on and continuous adjustment, we have a clearer idea of what's the problem. We have a clearer idea of what's the problem, and then we continue to adjust, we continue to move on. So in real life, the AAM is a dynamic process. Dynamic process doesn't have to be linear. Okay. Thanks to Anonymous for asking the question.
Thanks, Dr. Phang. The next question is moving on like having a solution, and if no solution, a learning out of the situation?
Yes. Moving on, not necessarily must be solving a problem. Of course, some problem can be solved, some problem cannot be solved. Okay, some problem can be solved, some problem cannot be solved. If the problem cannot be solved, we can learn to accept it. Okay, but sometimes we cannot change the situation, but we can still change the way we respond to the situation. Back to the COVID example. I mean, COVID is still there. In fact, there's more variants now. We've got the Delta variants, we've got the Alpha variant, all sorts of variants. It's there. We can't really change that. We cannot solve it immediately. So that is not within our control. But we can still learn to cope with it. So to me, learning to cope, learning MindFulGym, learning to cope with the stress, learning to relate to the problem with kindness, beginner's mind, and wisdom, learning not to resist that, that is part of solving the problem. That is part of solving the problem. Okay? Solving problem not necessarily mean we have to get rid of the problem. COVID, it's a good example. Not necessarily you have to get rid of the COVID problem, but we learn to relate to the COVID problem. We learn to cope with kindness, beginner's mind, and wisdom, and that is part of solving the problem. So solving problem not necessarily to get rid of the problem. Solving problem is learning to relate to the problem with kindness, beginner's mind, and wisdom. I hope that's clear.
The next question is, when I set a life goal, I will give up while halfway pursuing it and become lost again. Then I set another life goal and the cycle repeats itself. Any advice? Thank you.
Good. If you notice in the slide or moving on, there are two pictures, you know. One picture is on purpose, another one is on goal. And one is purpose, one is on goal. They are slightly different, you know. If you look deeply, there's a slight difference. Okay, purpose is something very long term. Purpose is a direction in life. Purpose is a direction in life. For example, okay, my purpose is to help people. I'm just giving an example. My purpose in life is to help people. I like to help people. That is a purpose. Okay. Goal is what I can do in order to help people. Goal is not a direction. A goal is something that can be achieved. Okay. So in my example, running the Mindful Gym program, conducting the Mindful Gym program is a goal. And this goal is in line with my values of helping people. So my response to your question is, sometimes it's helpful to differentiate the purpose and the goal. Differentiate the purpose and the goal. The reason for me of saying that is because we can always adjust our goals. Purpose is still the same. We want to help people, but we can adjust the goals. Okay. So goals, for example, is running my Mindful Gym program through Zoom is a goal. Running my Mindful Gym program face-to-face is another goal. So both are different goals, but they have the same purpose. Same purpose. Okay? So it's important to differentiate so that we can be more flexible, so that we can learn, we can adjust our goals. We can adjust our goals according to situation. Okay? Back to Amy's question just now. Okay, so you cannot open a shop. You cannot open a shop. Opening your shop for business purpose is a goal. Is one way to achieve the purpose. Okay, selling your products online is another goal. It's a different goal, but the purpose is the same. Okay, you need to have your own business. You need to have a right livelihood. You need to support yourself. You need to be independent. That's the direction. But we can have different goals. So we can be more flexible with goals. If we are very clear of our purpose, then we can adjust the goals. That's my advice.
Let's proceed to the next questions. What can I do to help when a friend who is having a panic attack in front of me or through a phone call?
Having panic attack in front of me or through a phone call. Step number one, stay calm. You don't panic. Okay. If your friend is having panic attack and then you also panic, you have double panic attack. Then like that, die off. So first thing, stay calm. Stay calm. Second thing is maybe you can ask a friend. Okay. I'm not sure your friend how knowledgeable is your friend in dealing with panic attack. If you are not sure, I suppose number one is just to stay calm. Then you ask your friend, what can I do for you? Then you can talk to your friend, say how can I support you? Okay. Then maybe your friend may tell you directly, bring me the minyak angin, or just leave me alone, or get me some water, or get me my Xanax. So you can ask lah. You can ask a friend, what can I do to make it better for you? Most important is to stay calm. Okay. If you ask people who are having panic attack, they will tell you one of the things that I wouldn't say they lah, I would say we lah, because I have panic attacks before. Okay. One of the things that we are worried about when we have panic attack, we are worried that the people around us don't know how to react. Actually, if you leave me alone, I'm better because I'm very familiar with panic attack. I've been a friend with panic attack for a long time. I know how to deal with this friend. But if there are people around me, they do not know how to deal with panic attack, then I have a double worry. I one worry to deal with my own panic attack. Now I have to worry about how do I react to your overreaction over my panic attack. So it's one common concern. So as a friend, keep calm, okay, and then just gently ask what your friend needs. Okay, if your friend has something specific need that you offer, okay, if not, just be there, and just be there to support your friend. Be present. Just be there, be present. Don't have to do anything. Just be there, be present. I think that's good enough.
Thanks,
If
Dr.
your friend is a little bit more. If your friend has no idea there's a panic attack, of course, after that, then you can suggest your friend to get professional help. If your friend has not consulted anyone.
Okay, we have a reply from Emmy. Thanks, I got it, Dr. Pang. Thanks for your very detailed reply.
Good.
Okay, let's proceed to the last question at this moment. Due to the pandemic, I lost my job and income. How to cope with the tremendous stress, especially involve monetary commitment I need to make monthly?
Very good question. This is something that many people are facing now. Yeah. I think this question is best answered. It's best answered by the second half of today's sharing. Second half of today's sharing. Because the second half you learn about 5 mindful vitamins. Besides the AM, there are another 5 principles called the 5 mindful vitamins that can help us to buffer challenges like this. For example, the income and the job issue. But a brief response. Because you are done well in terms of acknowledging, you are accepting and acknowledging a problem. So you know you have a job problem, you know you have an income problem. Okay. So number 2, of course, apply all the MINDFULGym tools to relax the body, to calm the mind, because we don't want to make things worse. You already have a job problem. If you don't take care of your health, physically, mentally, things are going to be worse. So make sure you apply all the MINDFULGym tools. So at least you don't end up with more problems, more physical health problems or mental health problems. Yeah. So after we have calmed down, then we have to think of solutions. It is a problem. Maybe it's easier if we can remind ourselves in the process of solving the problem. It's useful to remind ourselves that we are not alone. Financial difficulty. It's good to remind ourselves we are not alone. We are not alone in this problem. There are many more people around us with similar challenges. So we can think in this way. Then we don't feel so lonely. We don't feel so shameful. We don't feel so fearful. Then when we are calmer, we are more likely able to come up with creative solutions. We are more able to come up with creative solutions. We are also more willing to talk to other people, because when we have awareness that we are not alone, we'll reach out to other people with same problem, so that we can discuss, we can support one another to overcome the same problem. Yeah, so that's the short response. For the longer response, for the second half of the presentation today. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Pang. Okay. I think 2 more here. What if the purpose, goals and dreams are unrealistic, 95% impossible to achieve? Miracle genius work. I feel like just a dreamer. Life is not purposeful.
Then adjust the goal. Adjust the goal. Adjust the goal. The most important thing is actually depends on how we define the terms. But for simplicity's sake, I'll just keep the 2 terms in this presentation. One is goal and one is purpose. Purpose is something very long term, very long term. Whereas goals are something of a short term. So you think it's impossible to achieve, then we set smaller goals. Set smaller goals.
Yes.
Again, I'm using an example for my MINDFULGym program. Attending a Zoom-based MINDFULGym program will never be the same as attending a real group face-to-face in-person MINDFULGym program. They're never the same. Those of you that I know they're graduates over here, I'm sure the graduates will agree with me. It will never be the same. Okay, but it's still okay. It's still okay. It doesn't mean that it's nothing. It's still better than none. So adjust the goals. Adjust the goal, lower down the expectation. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, that's right, Dr. Bang. Okay, okay, there is a reply here. Thanks, Dr. Bang, for explaining the difference between purpose and goal. I will consider carefully and think about it. Thank you. Okay, in the last question here, for car broke down incidents, if we have enough resources, money or friend, we can easily grab home or get help. But if we have limited resources, it adds to another problem.
Good question. Good question. Yes, you're correctly pointed out. But there is a but. Okay. When our mind is not calm, when our mind is very stressed out, it's very easy to think there is not enough resources. Okay. When our mind is calm, we can think of creative solutions. We can think of more resources. That is my main response. Yeah, of course, resources are always limited. Okay, but our perception of resources is very important. Remember, we had a session on thoughts, on perception. Our perception of resources changes when our state of mind changes. Okay, when we are very stressed out, when we don't have enough sleep, when we are having panic attack, when we are anxious, ultimately our mind perceives that limited resources. We will naturally feel that I'm the only one suffering. There is no hope. There is no way out. And sometimes in very bad situations, a person may even end up with helplessness and having suicidal thoughts. Okay? On the other hand, if we have enough sleep, we are rested, we practice all the mindful gym exercises, relax the body, calm the mind, our perception of resources will be different. Then we start to think, it's not that bad. There's still other options. The options are not perfect, but there's still options that I can try.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more?
That's all, Dr. Bang. Thank you for answering all the questions.
So we'll proceed with Befriending Challenges Part 2. As I told you earlier, today we'll be sharing with you two tools to help us to cope with challenges. So the first one is AAM, accept and just move on, the one we already covered. The second related tool is called the 5 mindful vitamins. 5 mindful vitamins. So what are the 5 mindful vitamins? Okay. These are the 5 mindful vitamins. Okay. So the 5 mindful vitamins, this is the concept. Okay. The mindful vitamins are in the form of mantra. Mantra means short verses or coping statements that help us to think wisely. Sorry for the spelling mistake. Think wisely. To think wisely. To think wisely means to think in a more positive, healthy, and helpful ways. They are short verses, coping statements. So what are the 5 coping statements? Okay, number 1 is, what have I learned? Number 2 is, I'm not alone. Number 3 is, it could have been worse. Number 4 is, what can I do? And the last one is, this will also pass. Of course, it doesn't have to be in this sequence. The sequence can be random, not necessary, as I mentioned. So it's very important to remember the 5 coping statements. So as I'm talking, try to remember all 5. You should be able to recall, able to recite the coping statement or the verses even without referring to it. What can I do now? This will also pass. It could have been worse. What have I done? What have I learned? I'm not alone. It could have been worse. What can I do now? This will also pass. I'm not alone. What have I learned? It could have been worse. I'm not alone. What can I do now? Yeah, you should be able to remember by heart and recite it by heart. Okay. So how are we going to apply these coping statements? That will be under the next slide. Okay. Remember, the 5 mindful vitamins are wise scoping statements. Wise scoping statement. Okay, how to apply the wise scoping statements? Well, I'm going to give you examples. Okay. Under the what have I learned? Under what have I learned? Okay. For example, all of us are now facing the COVID pandemic. Okay. We are facing the COVID pandemic. Okay. Applying this principle of what have I learned? Okay. One should try to think. Should think something like that. Okay. So we are all facing the COVID pandemic. Is horrible. Is bad. Is affecting our business. It's causing a lot of stress, anxiety, and depression. But it might not be a bad thing. It might not be a totally bad thing. Well, it's bad. Nobody can deny that pandemic causes a lot of stress, a lot of inconvenience in life. Okay, but it might not be a totally bad thing. So what have I learned? Okay, for example, because of the pandemic, I learned how to conduct the mindful gym program using Zoom. Before the pandemic, I never had the experience of, never tried conducting mindful gym through Zoom. So that is something which I've learned. Okay, so I also learned sometimes having a pandemic might not be a bad thing. Because now over the weekends, actually I have more time to rest. Previously, before the pandemic, over the weekend, I'll be running around to different places to conduct talks. Now I can actually sit at home at my comfort here and just do sharing at home. I can have more time to rest, more time to read, more time to meditate, and more time to reflect and contemplate. So it might not be a totally bad thing. Okay? So that's how we apply wise thinking using the principle of what have I learned. Okay. Let's go to the second one. Okay, under I'm not alone. Okay, under I'm not alone. Okay, so the example will be the situation, the example situation. I'm scared of COVID-19 infection and all the negative side effects. Of course, you're not the only one. I'm also scared of it. All of us have fear related to COVID infection. Okay. So using I'm not alone, the I'm not alone principle, one should try to think, yes, I'm having all this fear, I'm having job insecurity, I'm having financial problem, but I'm not alone. I'm not alone. Your business is no good. My business is also no good. You have family issues. I also got family issues. You have insomnia and panic attack. I also have insomnia and panic attack. You have health conditions and very difficult for you to seek help. There are a lot of people also with a lot of physical conditions have difficulty in seeking help. So we remind ourselves that we are not alone and we can support one another. You are not the only one having the same problem. I also got the same problem. Other people also have the same problem. We can learn from one another. We can support one another. Okay, that's how we can think wisely using the principle of I'm not alone. Okay. Third one, it could have been worse. Okay, how do we apply the principle of it could have been worse to think wisely and cope with changes and challenges in life? Okay, I give an example of nose allergy. I give this example because I often have nose allergy. In fact, for the past 3 weeks, it's been quite bad. I have at least one attack per week. Nose allergy. Of course, nose allergy is bad. It's very uncomfortable. Those of you who have a nose allergy, you know what I mean. It's very uncomfortable. Okay. But using the principle it could have been worse, I would think, yeah, nose allergy is bad. But it's worse if I'm down with severe COVID infection. It's worse I end up in ICU. So the nose allergy is nothing. Nothing compared to being infected with COVID, having shortness of breath and continuous cough and end up with ICU. Nose allergy is nothing compared to that. So thinking along, it could have been worse. Another way of doing it is we remind ourselves that besides that means in this situation is the nose allergy or the COVID infection. There are many things which are still okay in my life. I can be having nose allergy, okay, or I can be having a COVID infection, okay. But there are a lot of other things in my life which are still okay. Another example which happens right here, right now, is the rain. Because of the rain, then the internet connection might not be good. So that is something no good, something that you don't like. Okay, but there are many things which are still okay. My computer is still working. The fan is still working. The aircon is still working. The lights are still working. So there are many things which are still okay in my life. Okay, that's how we can think wisely along the principle of equal than worse. Okay, the next one. Okay, the next one is the mantra, the coping statement of what can I do now? This I already mentioned briefly when I talk about AAM. I'm going to elaborate a little bit more. Okay, so in this principle, we try to remind ourselves, instead of worrying about something, for example, worrying about getting COVID infection, focus on what we can do. Focus on what we can do. Of course, focus on prevention. Okay, what can we do to prevent COVID infection? Okay, we can wear masks. Okay, we can wear double layer of mask. Okay, we can put in the face shield. We can wash our hands regularly. We can go for vaccination. So there are many things that we can do. Okay? So instead of worrying, we focus on what we can do. This is very useful advice. Of course, sometimes it's a bit challenging to control our worrying. Just like Sister Amy just now mentioned about the worry about business. That is very natural. That is very normal. We are all human beings. But hopefully, we remind to apply the AAM. Do the adjustment, mindful breathing, body stretching, calm down. Okay, so that overcomes the worry. Let the mind calm down, and then we focus on what we can do. Okay, remember when our mind is calm, we are able to perceive more way. The perceptions of resources becomes better. We are able to see more solutions. When we are worrying too much, we are in anxiety, depressive, we can't see solution. Okay. The last one, the last coping statement, the last wise way of thinking is called "this will also pass." Okay. In this coping statement, why tries to think that everything, all the unhappy things that happen in life, all the changes, challenges, and all these things, they are impermanent. They will also pass. Okay. So the pandemic is terrible. I think nobody can deny the fact that the pandemic is terrible. But at the same time, we remind ourselves, luckily with the pandemic, luckily at least I can still attend the MINDFULGym program every week. I can spend time with the MINDFULGym Kaki to help to reduce suffering. Of course, there is stress, but at least reduce suffering, and remind ourselves slowly but surely it will subside. The pandemic will definitely end one day. It's just a matter of time. Okay? As I said, this is not the first pandemic, and this is not going to be the last pandemic. So remind ourselves, slowly but surely, things will pass. Remind ourselves, it's okay. It will pass. It will pass. It will pass. So this is a very brief explanation of how we can apply the 5 mindful vitamins, which are wise coping statements to help us cope with the changes and challenges in life. Next, let me go a little bit detailed for each mindful vitamin. So I will also go through with you the frequently asked questions, the common misconceptions associated with the 5 mindful vitamins. So I'm going to go through them one by one and share with you a little more in depth about the coping statements. Before that, look at this. This COVID vaccine. We can also conceptualize the 5 mindful vitamins as a mental vaccine. We can conceptualize the mindful vitamins as mental vaccine. Okay, so we go for COVID vaccine. The main reason we go for COVID vaccine is for prevention. And most importantly, it prevents us from getting severe COVID infection. Okay, it might not prevent us 100% from getting COVID infection. Okay, but definitely the evidence is very strong. This is the unanimous consensus. The vaccine, doesn't matter which brand you take, it definitely helps to prevent severe COVID infection. It minimizes the COVID infection which are severe, which requires hospitalization, which requires ICU admission. Okay, so similarly, we take the 5 mindful vitamin, we apply the 5 mindful vitamin, we try to think wisely so that we don't suffer so much in life. Are we still going to have stress in life? Yes, we are still going to experience stress in life, because I have mentioned very, very early in MINDFULgym part 1 itself that the program is not designed to help us to get rid of stress. There is no way we can completely get rid of stress. Even if you are relaxed now, it's going to be temporarily. It's just a matter of time. Stress will come back to us again. Okay, so taking the 5 mindful vitamin, practicing MINDFULgym doesn't get rid of stress, but it helps us to prevent the stress from becoming suffering. So it buffers the stress. Okay? So this is how the mindful vitamin is like the vaccine. Okay. So I'm not alone. Okay. So it's important that when we reflect along the principle, I'm not alone. For example, is I'm having nose allergy. I'm having nose allergy. I'm glad to hear that you also have nose allergy. So got friend. Okay, it's very important that we are thinking in this way, not because I want you to suffer. I'm not happy because you also have nose allergy. Because if possible, I don't want you to have nose allergy as well. If possible, I don't want you to have any form of stress related to the COVID vaccine. The intention of reflecting along this time is not want you to suffer like me. No, that's not the intention. Okay. The intention of reflecting in this way is to help us to reduce the shame and fear of whatever problems we are having. Let me emphasize, the intention is to help us to reduce the shame and fear of whatever problems, changes, and challenges in life. Okay. One very specific example related to the COVID pandemic. Okay. If I were to ask you, how many of you during this MCO, COVID MCO, how many of you, when you stay at home, you have some conflicts with your own family members? Okay. I'm very sure. Well, you can put out a hand, although I cannot see your hand. You can put out your hand electronically using the Zoom system. I'm sure there are a lot of you who have similar experience. During MCO, you stay at home, you have some conflict with your family members. So thinking that, I have this conflict, you also have conflict, other people also have conflict with family member. This is a very powerful antidote to the feeling of shame. So if we can share, if we can remember that this is a common problem, all of us have these issues, these challenges, then we don't feel so shameful. We also don't feel so fearful, because without shame, we're able to share it. We're able to get ideas from other people. In fact, sometimes in the process of sharing itself, sharing and knowing that we are not alone, that itself reduces suffering. And also, besides feeling better, in the process of sharing, we also get ideas from other people on how to overcome the whatever problems we are facing. So that's one frequently asked question on I'm not alone. Some people they got the meaning wrong. They thought I'm not alone means I want you to suffer together with me. I suffer, you also suffer. I'm glad that you suffer as well. I feel better that you suffer. It is not that way. Some people also, when I talk about I'm not alone, thinking wisely along the principle I'm not alone. Some people will say, they will tell me, some of my patients in my clinic, they say, doctor, okay, I get your point. I understand the meaning of not alone. So I know I'm not alone. Other people are not alone. But how come other people can cope? How I cannot cope? Yes, you got this problem. I also got this problem. But how come other people can cope? How come I'm only one having depression? I'm the only one having panic attack. I'm the one having anxiety. First of all, you may not realize you are not the only one having panic attack. You're not the only one having insomnia. You're not the only one suffering from depression. It's very often when we are suffering alone, we think we are really alone. Actually, we are not alone. If we bother to talk to other people, we actually realize that we are really not alone. So sometimes we need to reach out to other people, talk to other people, socialize. Then only we truly understand that we are not alone. Okay. Even though if we are not alone, and some people can cope and we cannot cope, this is also very normal, because all the world has different strength and weakness. Other people may be good in coping in this problem. Okay, they may not be good in coping other problems. I mean, good in certain things, I may not be good in other things. So that's very normal. So we are not alone. Some people can cope better, some people cannot cope so good. Some people can cope well in A, they cannot cope well in B. You can cope well in B, you cannot cope well in A. So that is very, very normal. I got a nice song to share with you. So when I take my mindful vitamins or I'm not alone, I like to either sing or listen to this song. There's a song called "You Are Not Alone" by Michael Jackson. It's a very, very nice song to accompany this mantra of not alone. Later, I will send to you in the MindFulGym Telegram group. So as you reflect along this mantra, listen to this song. You are not alone. It's a nice song. Okay. Next, mindful vitamin. What can I do? What can I do? Yeah. So what are the common challenges that we can have with this? Okay. For those who worry a lot, for those who ruminate, some people, they like to ruminate. They think and think and think and think, and they ask why. It's very important that we focus on what we can do instead of asking why. Focus on what we can do instead of asking why. Actually, there are two types of asking why. Okay, two types of asking why. The first type is more of the going round and round, the rumination why, like why, like why got COVID one, why people can cope, why I cannot cope, why got COVID, why. This kind of rumination why, it goes round and round and round and round and round and round. You feel that there's no way out. The second type of asking why is a more wise way asking why. It's asking why with the intention to solve problem. Asking why to solve problem. And this one has the feeling of thinking, go round, and then out. So you go round, think, and then you're out. So it's very important to differentiate these two types of why questioning. The first one is just go round, no solution. The second one, it goes round, and then there's a solution. So in my clinic, I tend to see patients who are of the first type, who ask why, but it's not a real question. It's more of a rumination, just asking why. So as an antidote to that, I suggest instead of asking why, do the mindful gym exercises, mindful breathing, mindful body stretching, EFT tapping, relax the body, calm the mind, and then focus on what can I do. Focus on what can we do, what can I do. Focus on what we can do. I know COVID is horrible. COVID is terrible. MCO is bad. We don't deny that. Okay, but focus on what we can do. Okay? The things which are not within our control, those who are not within our power to change, leave it. Don't ask why. Focus on what can we do. Many things we can do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, little things that we can do. Focus on those things that we can do. Because another one related to this, when we ask what can I do, not necessarily that we have to do everything on our own. I mean, we got MindFulGym kakis, we got friends. Okay? But most importantly, we must be willing to seek help, willing to reach out, willing to seek help, and that's very important. Okay, and one of the hindrance, one of the things that deter us from seeking help is because of this mindset that we are alone. We feel very shameful. We feel that we are the only one having this problem. That stops us from reaching out. That stops us from talking to other people. When we don't reach out, we don't talk to other people, we don't get ideas on what can we do. Okay? So I hope you see that the mindful vitamins, they are interrelated. Even though when I teach, I explain one by one, but actually they're all interrelated. So that's on what can I do. I got a nice story to share with you related to what can I do. A very nice story. In fact, I got a story and also a song. Okay, the song I'll show you later. I'll tell you the story first. This story about a donkey. donkey, shake it off, step up. Okay. So in the story, once upon a time, there was a donkey. Okay. Unfortunately, this donkey fell into a well. Fell into the well. So the donkey tried to climb up, but unfortunately, the well was very deep. The donkey can't climb up. So donkey asked for help. Unfortunately, nobody came to help. Okay. Until a farmer passed by. A farmer passed by. But very unluckily, this farmer is a very, very wicked farmer. Instead of helping the donkey to get out from the well, the farmer actually took a spade and spade in more soil, throw in more soil to bury the donkey. Okay? But luckily, this donkey must be a very mindful donkey. The donkey knows how to cope with this stress, how to cope with the changes and challenges. So the donkey used a very interesting method, and this a very wise and interesting method. And this method is called shake it off, step up. Okay, what does shake it off, step up mean? Okay, whenever the farmer spade and throw in more soil into the well, of course the sand, the soil landed on the donkey's back. Okay, so donkey will shake it off, shake it off. So the soil or the sand will fall to the ground of the well. Okay, so you pour more soil, the donkey will shake it off, and then the soil will fall to the ground of the well. So after some time, the level of the ground, the ground become higher and higher because you're putting more sand, more soil inside. The level, the ground will rise higher and higher. So after some time, it almost reached the top part of the well. So the donkey could easily just step up, and manage to get up. So this is a very nice story related to what can I do. So very often in life, we are facing the same situation like the donkey. We meet with changes and challenges. We meet nasty people in life, okay? Like the wicked farmer. Okay? And very often, we can't change the farmer. We can't change the farmer. We can't change the nasty people. We can't change the nasty situation in life. Okay? But bear in mind, we cannot change the external circumstances. We can change the internal circumstances. Okay? The internal circumstances is shake it off, step up. And in real life, it refers to what can I do? Right? We can't change the farmer. We can't change COVID. We can't change many things in life. Okay? A lot of external things we can't change. But there are a lot of internal things that we can change. Our mindset, we can change. We can practice mindful gym to calm the body. We can change that. Okay? We can come up with creative solution that's within our control, to reflect that we are not alone, that is within our control, to reach out to people to get help, that is within our control. Focusing on what can I do, that's within our control. Okay, so focus on what can I do. Shake it off, step up. There's a nice song that comes with that. So when I think of this story, when I use this story to remind ourselves of the principle of what can I do, I also like to listen to this song. Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. So a song on Shake It Off, a story on Shake It Off as well. So just nice to remind us on the principle of what can I do. Right? If you can't find the song, it's okay. I will send the song and also the story to the MINDFULGym Telegram group. Okay, let's move on. Okay. So the next principle is it could have been worse. It could have been worse. I would like to remind all of you, including myself, there's a proper timing to apply this. It could have been worse. So timing of taking the vaccine or timing of consuming the vitamins also got to be wise as well. So as I reflect in my life in dealing with all the changes and challenges, I find that this vitamin or this vaccine is usually more effective, more potent after the incident. During the incident, usually it's not helpful. Imagine that the example I gave you, my car broke down. Imagine you come to me, imagine you're inside my car and you tell me on the spot, it could have been worse, you know. I think you either get a tight slap from me, or if I don't do anything, I can restrain myself, I will have a lot of frustration and resentment, you know. So the timing has to be correct. Usually this works better after the incident, after we have regained our emotional balance, after we have calmed down. After that, when we reflect back, that is useful. Okay, for example, on that day, well, at least my car broke down. I mean, a car is a material thing. At least I didn't break down. Okay, I didn't fall sick, or my mother didn't break down. My mom is elderly. At least my mom wasn't sick at that time. So the car breaking down is nothing compared to me breaking down or my mom breaking down in terms of physical and mental health. But to think like that usually only works after the incident. When we reflect and we retrospect, usually works. So timing has to be correct. So we got to practice the mindfulness, with kindness, with wisdom, you know, wisdom. Do it the right time. Okay, that's under it could have been worse. Okay. Okay, next one is number 4. This shall also pass. Okay, so this is reminding ourselves, no matter what challenges, difficulties we have, and remind ourselves, this will pass, this will pass, this will pass. Okay, this one can be combined with the EFT tapping. Remember in one of the sessions we learned about EFT tapping. So we can apply this together with the EFT tapping. So if we are tapping, we can say, it's okay, this will also pass. It's okay, it will also pass. It's okay, it will also pass. It's okay, it will also pass. It will pass, it will pass. Remember the EFT tapping we learned in MINDFULgym part 1? We can use this coping statement, this affirmation, together with the EFT tapping. So that is an extra tip on how to apply this shall also pass. Another the piece of extra information is related to the Google What Went Well exercise that we learned last week. Remember, we have an exercise called Google What Went Well. Okay? And this can be practiced together with that. So when the present moment is pleasant, let's say our life is smooth, things go according to our plan. When the present moment is pleasant, then we apply the Google What Went Well exercise. We practice gratitude workout. We collect all the good things. Like what we did in the MINDFULgym Telegram group. So we Google the good things according to the gratitude card. So the present moment is pleasant, we do gratitude workout. When the present moment is unpleasant, when there are changes and challenges, we learn to be kindful to ourselves. How to be kindful? Is the AAM and the mindful vitamin. Okay, I repeat. When the present moment is pleasant, nice, we do gratitude workout. When the present moment is unpleasant, we do kindfulness practice. Kindfulness practice means all the exercises, butterfly heart, EFT tapping, mindful breathing, AAM, the mindful vitamin. Remind ourselves this shall also pass. That helps me to cope with the unpleasantness. Okay, next one, last one. Okay, what have I learned? What have I learned? So it's common to have problems in life, common to have challenges in life. So after we have coped with the problems, it's important to ask, what have I learned from the incident? What have I learned from the problem? What have I learned from the changes and challenges? In a way, learning from something from it is our way to honor, a way for us to honor and appreciate the unpleasant experience. Okay. This one, I have a story to share with you. Okay, a story related to what have I learned. Okay. The name of this story is called Everything Happens for a Good Purpose. Everything happens with a good purpose. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a king. The king and his advisor, and they went for hunting. So hunting was one of the hobby of this king. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened. Instead of shooting at the animal when they're hunting, the king actually accidentally shot his right toe, so got injured. Shot on the injured. So because of the injury, They asked the advisor, what do you think? Okay, the advisor said, well, everything happened with a good purpose. So the advisor only got one advice only. Everything you say, everything happened with a good purpose. So the king was very angry, sent him to the jail. Sent him to the jail. When the king recovered from the injury, the king went for hunting again. Because that was his hobby. Recovered already, no more pain, went for hunting again. This time, even more bad luck, because he was caught by a group of man-eating tribes, cannibals, man-eating tribe. So they caught the king and they wanted to sacrifice him to the god, sacrifice to the god. So they tie him upside down and they're doing the rituals, as they were dancing and singing. Suddenly, the head of the tribe, they said, this one tak boleh makan, cannot eat. This one king cannot eat. Okay, why cannot eat? Reason is the king had an imperfect body because of injury. So he cannot eat. So they released the king. So now the king actually realized that the advisor was very wise. The advisor said everything happens with a good purpose. So it's true because of the injury. The king escaped being sacrificed to the god. So when the king returned to the palace, the king quickly went to the prison and released the advisor. The king was very grateful to the advisor and sort of appreciate the wisdom of the advisor. But before the king left, the king had one more question to ask. There's still something he wasn't very convinced. So he asked the advisor, okay, I truly agree with you. Everything happened with a good purpose. So the injury happened with a good purpose. If not, I were eaten up by those people. Not eaten up, will be sacrificed to the god. But there's something I still don't understand. Okay, I sent you to the prison. You were suffering in the prison. What good did it do to you? The one I don't understand. You say everything happens with good purpose. I sent you to the prison. Oh, good for me, but it wasn't good for you, isn't it? Then the advisor said, oh, that happened with a good purpose as well. You know why? Because if the advisor was not in the prison, the advisor would have joined the king for the hunting again. And he would have been eaten and sacrificed to the god and eaten by them because he has a perfect body, not like the king with the injury. Okay, so this is a very nice story to remind us that everything happens with a good purpose. So any problems in life, changes in life, challenges in life, difficulty in life, we remind ourselves everything happens with a good purpose. Everything that is a lesson. There's always something that we can learn. There's always something that we can learn. Okay, so nice story related to this. And for this story, also I have a song to share with you. So when I reflect on this story, I also listen to this song. This is a very, very nice song that I must share with you. There's a song called Will You Teach Me? Will You Teach Me? Very, very, very nice song, very soothing, very inspirational. Okay, again, I will send to you through the MINDFULGym Telegram group. Okay, when have I learned? Will you teach me? Okay, I'm coming to almost the end of the presentation. Okay, let us revisit my car breakdown, the incident again, and see how I apply the 5 microvitamin. Earlier, I shared with you how I apply the AAM, accept, adjust, and move on for my car breakdown incident. Now, I will further share how I applied the 5 microvitamin. Of course, what can I do? I already shared with you. At that time, after my mind calmed down, there were a few options. Okay, I perceive there are more resources. So I can call the Alliance Assist, I can call Grab, I can call my friend. Of course, weighing the pros and cons, I decided to call my friend. Okay, better that way because the afternoon have to conduct MINDFULGym. Okay, after the MINDFULGym program, I called the Alliance Assist. Then they came to bring my car to the workshop. Okay, and it was fixed on the next day because it was Sunday. The shop wasn't open, so the car was sent to the workshop. They only repaired it on the Sunday. So it's focusing on what can I do. What have I learned? Okay, because Monday still have to go to work. My car wasn't ready. So I have to solve the problem. I still have to go to work. Okay, so I learned. Okay, I learned how to call for Grab. Okay, how to use Grab. Call for Grab, install the Grab app, call the Grab for Grab service. I went to work in Sunway Medical Center using Grab for the first time. So I used the beginner's mind. So it was a nice experience. How to install the Grab app, how to call Grab, how to wait for the service. It was a different experience, a beginner's mind experience. Okay. Okay. And then I also learned. After that, I learned that actually there are more than one ways to go to Sunway Medical Center. In fact, after that incident, I discovered an alternative route to go to Sunway Medical Center, which has less traffic and can actually reduce the traveling time. So if not because of that incident, I won't go and consider all these things. Because of the incident, I bothered to find out different ways of going to the hospital, different route to go to the hospital. And I'm not alone, okay? So later I found out from my car technician, actually the problem was there's a rubber. There was some problem with the rubber in the gearbox. So I learned that I'm not alone. The car technician told me it's a very common problem. I never encountered that problem. So I thought I'm the only one having the problem. But later I found actually it's a very, very common problem. Then when I talked to my neighbor, and my neighbor also said it's a very common problem. So the car technician said it's a common problem. My neighbor also said it's a common problem. So I don't feel alone. It could be worse. As I said, the car broke down. I didn't break down. My family members didn't break down. The material thing breaks down is nothing compared to human being breakdown when we are sick. Okay? Of course, that was the only thing that went wrong. I mean, the other things went well. I still conducted my MINDFULgym. Okay, my friend responded to me. Okay, my friend came to fetch me. I managed to go home. I managed to go to the temple to conduct the MINDFULgym program. There were a lot of things that went well. It would have been worse if all those things didn't go well. Of course, this will also already passed. This happened, I think 1 or 2 years ago. Okay, so it's already over. So do I hate that incident? No, I don't hate the incident because I can use that incident for teaching purpose. Again, under what have I learned? So that's an example how I apply the AAM and the 5 mindful vitamin in dealing with changes and challenges. In this case, the car breaking down incident. Okay, last slide. So you have heard about the 5 mindful vitamin, which is basically the 5 wise way of thinking to help us cope with the changes and challenges in life. Okay, so this last slide is to help you to remember. So you already understood. I hope you got a rough idea of what the 5 mindful vitamins are, and you have some idea on how to apply. Okay, now is how to remember. How to remember the 5 mindful vitamin. Okay, one of our MINDFULgym graduates actually came up with this formula to remember the 5 mindful vitamin. Okay, so this formula is do, law, pass. And try to remember do, law, pass. In a way, when we are having challenges, we relate challenges with law, trouble, challenges, law, trouble. Do, law, pass. Okay. Do here means what can I do? So the first do here, what can I do? That's one of the 5 mindful ones. What can I do? Instead of worrying, ask. Instead of worrying excessively, ask, what can I do? Okay. Then law, L-A-W stands for L-A-W, law, L-A-W. L is what have I learned? Okay. A is I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And W is worse. It could have been worse. So L-A-W, law could be worse. Okay. Then pass is this shall also pass. So it is one of the ways that you can use to remind ourselves to think wisely when we are facing the changes and challenges in life. Okay, with that, I will end my presentation. Thank you very much. Jasmine, shall we proceed with the Q&A? And also maybe sharing by the graduates as well. Yeah.
The first question is, Dr. Pang, by referring to it could have been worse, do you mean that I am not suffering enough?
No, that's not my meaning. Thanks for bringing this up. That's why it's important to understand the intended meaning behind the phrase it could have been worse. No, it doesn't mean that you're not suffering enough. It doesn't mean that. Okay, that's not the intended meaning. Okay, There are few ways to understand it can be worse. The one is the maybe you can think like it's like, well, it's not to say it's not bad. You know, it's bad. My car broke down. It was bad. I mean, nobody wants that to happen. It was bad. Okay, but at the same time, the car broke down. There's only one incident in that 24 hours on that day, but there were other things which were okay. There were other things which are okay. Okay? So we are doing a comparison. If everything went wrong on that day, of course, it could have been worse. But the fact that only one thing didn't go well that day, but there were other things that were well, so it wasn't that bad. So it's a way of thinking to buffer the stress, to buffer the gravity of problem. It doesn't mean that you have not suffered enough. That's not the right way of thinking. Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Tang. The next question is, can mindful vitamins be applied to people who have chronic illness? The patient is in the challenge. It is not timely to apply some of it. How or what to apply?
Yeah, you see the AAM and the 5 mindful vitamin, to me, they are considered quite advanced MINDFULGym tools. That's why it's placed in lesson 7. I'll suggest if the person doesn't have the basic in mindfulness training, and if the person is having chronic illness, it is better to start with the basic MINDFULGym tools like body stretching and breathing. It's easier to apply. Okay, but if you are the one having chronic illness, because you attended the MINDFULGym program, you already have the basic, that is possible. It's possible to apply the 5 mindful vitamin even though we are sick, even though we have chronic illness. It can be applied.
Today's topic actually is my most favorite topic that I really benefited from it, despite all the other topics that help me to relax and calm my mind and the body. Okay, because often in life, as what you say, there is a stress in life. We cannot get rid of it. Similarly, there are also challenges in life, especially for dealing with uncertainties. So many of times, today's topic really helped me to serve the storm better, despite in challenging situations. So I think through this AAM and my 5 mindful vitamins, it's good that whenever we encounter challenges or stress, always remember to pick it up and try to apply in our situations or problems. I also learned through we have to accept sometimes not all the problems there are solutions. Okay, the solutions might not be able to get it now, but you will never know. The solution will come one day, and you will have the chance or opportunity to realize things really happen with good purpose. That's all, Dr. Kang. Thanks.
I got one more extra point to share. Even things are not getting better. We can still always learn to cope better. Actually, I heard of this quote. I forgot who said this. I find it's a very, very meaningful quote. It says that things may not get better, but we can always learn to cope better. Things may not get better, but we can always learn to cope better.
Hi, this is Sai. What I do with the MINDFULGym, because this is a very good opportunity because we are doing online. So I actually get my kids to sit with me at least the first hour. Since the beginning until now, this is the most debatable session that I have with my kids, which is very good. We talk a lot about the AAM. I think it's for me, today is very relatable to my 3 kids. Purely because now, they are supposed to be with friends. They're supposed to develop on social social skills and learning things from feels and touch. And now they are just looking audio and visual without touching. I think the I would say it's rather unhealthy way of learning and coping with life. So today we talk about a lot about the AAM. Yeah, so it was very good session today because it allows my kids to understand, and how and the tools to cope, especially using the word AM. Um, the I really like about the do law pass, because actually honestly the last half an hour I was trying to remember, and because of this easy method it makes me very to remember the 5 vitamins faster, and it's something that I will of course again discuss with my kids later. Thank you very much.
Home practice. So one of the things you can practice is to memorize the 5 statements by heart. After this, memorize the statement by heart, close the slide, close your notes, and try to recall. So the 5 mindful vitamins are number 1, like this, number 2, like this, number 3, like this, number 4, like this, number 5, like this. Memorize by heart. Without referring, you should be able to recite. Recite all the 5 wise coping statements. That's one of the home practice. Okay. And then, whenever you're having challenges, for this coming week, try to apply the AM and 5 vitamin. Okay. Of course, if you don't have problems in life, you don't have to go and dig problems. Not necessary. Okay. But if there are problems, and not necessarily has to be big problems, can be just small problems, It could be the phone is not working, or internet is not working, or the lights are not working. It can be small problems. Start. In fact, better to start with small problems rather to start with huge problems because we are practicing. So any little changes, challenges, problems, difficulties, try to apply the AAM and the 5 mindful vitamin. Maybe just a recap. AM stands for accept, adjust, and move on. Accept means acknowledge that we have the problem. Acknowledge is a problem. Adjust is practicing all the mindful gym tools, mindful breathing, body stretching, EFT tapping, butterfly hug, to relax the body, calm the mind, to cool. Okay. Then move on. Move on is to solve whatever problems we have. Solve whatever problems we have, and bear in mind that all of us have certain purpose in life. We have certain goals in life. So we try to move on to achieve whatever goals we identify in line with our purpose. So that is moving on. Focus on what we can do to achieve the goals in line with the purpose. That's AM. You can also conceptualize the 5 mindful vitamin is an extension of AM. How do we move on? How do we move on? Okay. Besides focusing on what can we do, you have another 5 vitamins. What can I do? I'm not alone. What have I learned? This will also pass. It can be worse. So the 5 mindful vitamin can be also the extension on the various ways to move on, or the various ways to help us prevent our stress from becoming suffering, to help us to buffer the stress, to minimize the suffering in life. Okay, so that is your practice. Okay, with that, thank you very much. Happy practicing.